Right. Okay. So we're at 1,000 now. What's the price target, Beth?
Give me a year. Next year or 2030?
Give us both.
We have modeled 65%, 65% upside based on Blackwell by the end of 2025, calendar year 2025. By 2030, wow, this company should be minimum 10 trillion in revenue, maybe higher. So we have a long runway with NVIDIA.
Right.
This is because we're in the AI economy now. So many people think this is going to end soon. It's not. This is the very beginning. Can't stress that enough. Multi-generational investment opportunity. Many Chinese companies are benefiting. Baidu, Tencent, great earnings reports coming from AI. NVIDIA's the AI infrastructure, but we're seeing a lot of beneficiaries, and I would encourage people to pay very close attention to that.
Yeah, Beth, just to clarify, you mentioned 10 trillion. You mentioned revenue. Do you mean market cap, or do you actually mean revenue?
I'm sorry, I meant market cap.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Even though NVIDIA stock has seen some amazing runs, up more than 170% over the past year, many analysts remain bullish, and some even say that NVIDIA still has more room to run. For example, CNBC's Jim Cramer said recently that NVIDIA shares can go even higher after its blockbuster earnings report. And here we have Beth Kindig, the CEO and lead tech analyst of the IO Fund, saying that NVIDIA will hit a $10 trillion market cap by 2030. NVIDIA stock is up nearly 12% since the company reported earnings, and these two analysts believe that the only way for NVIDIA stock to go is up. But is that really true? In today's video, we're going to answer this question by walking you through some analysts' opinions on NVIDIA, and we'll also talk about whether NVIDIA stock is a buy even after it crossed $1,000. But before we do that, if you want to keep up with NVIDIA's latest updates and keep up with the stock market's latest news, you can follow our Twitter account. We post multiple times daily about the biggest changes and catalysts in the market, so click the follow button if you don't want to miss the newest market updates. Now, back to today's video.
The takeaway is that the Blackwell architecture that is coming will exceed the Hopper architecture that we've already seen drive these sales, and it will hit as soon as Q2, full ramp by Q4. That was stated on the call. That's when you saw the stock price reverse after hours.
Can you give us some just your initial calculations of just how it could contribute to earnings? I mean, data centers already make up about 85% of total revenues. Is that likely to continue? Could that ramp up much further?
Yes. So we're really very early to AI acceleration. And so Hopper drove that 90 billion that we see. We are foreseeing a $200 billion data center segment by the end of calendar year 2025. And the management team today insinuated and gave hints that that could happen, because what they said is that Blackwell will deploy with over 100 OEMs, which is 2 times broader and faster than Hopper, which deployed with 50 OEMs. So if you can imagine, you're hearing all these comments from management on the call, and it's clearly indicating that the Blackwell architecture, the second generation basically of these very high in demand generative AI GPUs, is going to be a step up from what has been deployed. So the translation here is that Hopper gave us 90 billion annual run rate. What will the Blackwell give us? And that's when you started to see this extremely bullish price action after hours. This is a stock that's run hard and fast, and now it's up, 5-6% after hours. People are getting excited to think about how the year will end now that this second release is coming out. And if I can, the other key point here is that NVIDIA is shortening its product cycle from 2 years to 1 year. They've never done this before. It's bold, and it's very important to do right here, right now, because it allows them to continue to grow on top of this already phenomenal growth.
We've all seen how strong NVIDIA's Q1 earnings were, beating expectations on both revenue and profits, and sending the stock price to over $1,000. But despite this, Kindig actually believes that NVIDIA's valuation remains relatively low compared to its growth potential. Kindig still sees big opportunities ahead for NVIDIA in AI, data centers, software, and other emerging technologies, And as AI adoption increases, Kindi believes that demand for NVIDIA's specialized AI chips and platforms will rise significantly. She also pointed out that analysts will start revising their price targets on NVIDIA stock upwards with the release of the company's much-anticipated Blackwell GPUs, and the stock price will definitely move up as more analysts change their targets for higher ones. On the other hand, Roth Capital Partners analyst Alex Luria said that he wasn't at all surprised by NVIDIA's earnings, as many of the company's customers had already signaled plans to increase spending on NVIDIA products. But he also believes that the heightened demand may be just a short-term thing if the hype around generative AI cools down or competing approaches emerge. Therefore, NVIDIA will need to keep advancing its technology to stay ahead for the long term. I have to say, I'm more on Kindig's side here. Bloomberg expects generative AI to become a $1.3 trillion market by 2032, and that's a compound annual growth rate of 42% from 2022 to 2032, which indicates that it's very unlikely for demand for NVIDIA's products to die out anytime soon. And it's not just Kindig or Kramer that's bullish on NVIDIA stock, as more and more analysts are jumping on the bandwagon, encouraging investors to go all in on the company. So, let's take a look at what some of them had to say. Hello everyone, and welcome back to Investocracy.
Joining us now, Vivek Arya, BofA Securities Senior Semiconductor Analyst. And Vivek, it's great to have you here. It feels as if the enthusiasm behind the NVIDIA story, the multi-years of demand exceeding supply, were confirmed for the most part. What are the headlines from the report from your perspective?
Yeah, good morning. Thank you for having me. I think there is a global race that is going on between cloud service providers, between consumer internet companies, between on-premise enterprise, between the thousands of venture-backed startups to take the best advantage of this wonderful and amazing new technology called generative AI or large language models. And NVIDIA is best positioned to deliver a turnkey solution to every one of these constituencies who wants to take advantage of this technology, either to lower their cost or to improve their revenue profile. So what did we learn last night? I think three important things. First, demand is broadening. It's not just the cloud service providers. They went to only mid-40s% of sales versus mid-50s the last quarter. So demand is broadening to automotive companies, to enterprises, to consumer internet companies. Second thing we learned is that demand still exceeds supply. And I think this was a concern, Mike, going into the call, because the company is in front of this major product transition to something called Blackwell. So there was this fear that there would be this air gap. But what we are learning is that just because of the breadth of product and the breadth of customers, that they are able to go through this transition very smoothly. And the third and very important thing, which I think sometimes gets understated, is that the top line is not only growing over 200% a year. Every dollar of sales is being converted to over 50 cents of free cash flow. Which mega cap company in technology or the market is able to do that while trading at only 1.5 to 1.6 times the multiple of the S&P 500? So I think it's checking every box of growth, execution and cash flow generation. And the stock is still only about 30 times next year multiple for what is basically a market-weighted stock among most of the institutional shareholders.
Vijay Rakesh, Mizuho Managing Director and Senior Analyst, noted that NVIDIA's results were very strong, with revenues and earnings solidly beating expectations. Growth was driven by strength across all business segments: gaming, data center, automotive. Rakesh sees a very positive momentum for NVIDIA across segments, aided by AI-driven growth. He believes NVIDIA will remain well-positioned to capitalize on key tech trends. Meanwhile, KeyBank analyst John Vinh wasn't satisfied that NVIDIA didn't exceed expectations by a wide margin, as some investors had hoped. For NVIDIA to drive upside from current levels, Vinh believes it needs to demonstrate continued traction with the Hopper AI accelerators. Vinh also wants to see signs that demand for NVIDIA's high-end GPUs remains strong even as economic conditions weaken. And finally, Vinh said that NVIDIA needs to execute well on its automotive and Omniverse initiatives to diversify revenues beyond core gaming and data center markets. If you made it this far into the video, thank you. These videos take a lot of effort and time to make, so if you enjoyed them, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. This goes a long way in helping us grow. That said, back to the video.
Well, NVIDIA was the belle of the ball. There's a look at the rally over the last 5 years. Just a casual 3,000% gain. Today's gain was yet another record high, and it's hard to quibble with the quarter that they delivered, beating sales expectations. By the way, that means they grew sales 245%. They said that sales are going to double the next quarter. They increased their dividend by 150%. To make the stock more accessible to everyday investors, they're doing a 10-for-1 stock split in the coming weeks. Our next guest sees more upside from here. Stacy Rasgon is the managing director and senior analyst of U.S. Semiconductors at Bernstein. Your price target is $1,300, which implies a 30% gain. And I don't know, on a stock that's already doubled, that feels like a pedestrian move, right, for NVIDIA.
Yeah, it's funny. Like somebody, I was on the phone talking to a lot of clients today, and somebody said, "Well, wait a minute, that would mean that it would become the most valuable company in the world." And maybe, yeah, like, oh, okay, that doesn't seem like that much of a stretch at this point, right?
No, I think if you kept it at 1,300 after the stock split, then we could really talk about it. But
well, let's talk about that when we get there. I'll take it for now. Right.
I mean, in your coverage, have you ever seen just a growth engine like this?
Yeah, I mean, not for a company that's at the kind of scale that they were at before it started. You see these kinds of growth numbers from smaller companies, right? But eventually, most companies hit the law of large numbers. It's just hard to grow, 1,000,000%, year over year forever, like when you're as big as this. But we are we're not even on the cusp of it anymore. We are headlong into the AI gold rush at this point. And remember, these are. It's not like the stock is running ahead of itself. While it's up 1,000% or however much it is over the last year or two. Like the valuation of NVIDIA has actually gotten much lower. Like as much as the stock has gone up, the numbers have gone up by far more, right? And this is not like some sort of phantom thing. People are just like betting on growth. The growth is here, like it's already here, and we're certainly seeing it in the numbers and in the stock price now.
So in the end, a big majority of Wall Street analysts are bullish on NVIDIA's leading position in powering the AI revolution. But should this be enough for retail investors to take a shot at NVIDIA? Or is it too late to buy the stock? Well, according to analysts polled by Yahoo Finance, NVIDIA's earnings per share is expected to expand by 94% in 2025 compared to 2024. The company also ranks second on their list of the most unstoppable stocks to buy. NVIDIA announced a 10-for-1 stock split after earnings, and this is a great move if you look at it from a psychological lens. This is because 40% of trading volume comes from retail investors, and the stock split will eventually push more in retail. Therefore, investors could wait until after the stock splits to buy more NVIDIA shares if they want to get them at a cheaper price per share, or they could buy NVIDIA shares now. Either way, NVIDIA is one of the best positioned companies in the market and the AI market leader, and NVIDIA stock is the type of stock that you buy and hold for the long term. So, we think that investors shouldn't wait any longer for buying and investing in NVIDIA, and for those scanning the horizon for compelling opportunities, analysts shine a spotlight squarely on NVIDIA. The company looks prepared with living proof, and only good seems to be coming. But what do you think about NVIDIA stock? Is it a buy at the current price? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section, and don't forget to tell us what your valuation for NVIDIA is. If you would like to know what companies like NVIDIA have been up to these past few days, go ahead and click on the next video on your screen. See you there.